Morning. Coco, we're always start the Heart Foundation. We're going to be teaching hands-only CPR this morning. I go to DePaul University. It's a school in Indiana. I'm majoring in global health. And a fun fact about me is that I can work on my ears.
Now we got to see it.
Oh,
yeah.
Hi, I'm Shelby. I also go to DePaul University with Coco. I'm a global health and history double major. Fun fact about me, Coco, and Barack Obama all have the same birthday. So, yay, sum it up.
Hey everybody, I'm Henry. I'll be a junior this year at Dayton. I'm a biochem pre-med major, and my fun fact is I can go back.
Alright. These are awesome, and we're very thankful for them because they allow us to teach these classes for free. Alright, I'm going to start you all off with a little scenario. Let's say you're at the mall and someone collapses. How many of you would be willing to give mouth to mouth? It depends who it is.
Yeah, if it's a
Alright,
baby.
let's say you're at the mall, someone collapses. How many of you would be willing to give hands-only CPR, so just compressions, no mouth to mouth? Great. The American Heart Association actually recommends giving hands-only CPR instead of giving traditional CPR, which includes mouth-to-mouth, because it's just as effective. People are much less likely to give mouth-to-mouth. You don't know that person. They also might be vomiting or foaming at the mouth, and you don't really want to touch that, especially if you don't have a mouth guard, which people don't really carry around with them. So, makes sense. When you're giving compressions, you're allowing blood and oxygen to circulate throughout the body to your vital organs, like your heart and your brain. And you're acting as the heart by pushing on the heart and allowing blood to fill up and then be pumped out throughout the body. So the heart is basically like a sponge. Does anyone know the difference between a heart attack and a cardiac arrest? Okay. A heart attack is when there's a blockage in your artery and you're awake, you're conscious, you're going to feel symptoms. You might have pain or numbness in your left arm, shortness of breath, indigestion. And if you or if someone has a heart attack, you should seek medical attention immediately. And heart attacks can lead to cardiac arrests. Cardiac arrests are when your natural heart rhythm just stops. So you're not awake, you're not conscious, you're not breathing, you're dead. And 7 out of 10 people will actually experience symptoms about an hour before they have a cardiac arrest. So that is when you'll be using hands-only CPR too. Alright, so the biggest difference is heart attack, you're awake, you can help yourself. Cardiac arrest, you're not awake and you depend on others to help you survive. Alright. So does anyone know if this is a map of Jefferson County? Yeah, you got it. Jefferson County. The numbers represent Metro Council districts. And does anyone want to take a guess at what the dots represent? I talked about it a little bit just a second ago. Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's cardiac arrest.
Widespread.
Cardiac arrest within the past 2 years in Jefferson County, so. Alright. Does anyone want to take a guess at how many cardiac arrests there have been in Louisville in the past year? I can start you off, it's between 500 and 1,000. Any guesses? Yeah, not a great.
698.
698. Close. Higher than that.
4,500.
Lower than that. Higher than 750, but you're closer. One more guess?
798.
798. 850. So not a great number. Yeah. Well, just within the past year in Louisville, it was 850. Yeah. So let's say it is. Yeah. 10 people in Louisville have a cardiac arrest. How many do you think would survive it? That was the closest. One. Yeah. 1 out of 10. Yeah. And okay, so different scenario. Let's say 4 people have a cardiac arrest in Louisville. How many do you think would receive bystander CPR? So that's CPR from a stranger.
0.
2.
That was 1. again, not great odds. Bystander CPR can actually increase a person's chances of survival by 50 to 75%. So it's a great skill to have. In some cities, 3 out of 4 people will receive bystander CPR. So that shows that if we come together, we can do good. And that's why we're here today, is we want to help you learn how to act in an emergency. And right now we're going to show you a video on CPR.
So, tell me, young man, do you remember what your dad taught you about hands-only CPR?
Yes. Kind of.
If you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, the first thing you do is...
Call 911.
And the second thing you do is...
Push hard and fast in the center of the chest at a rate of at least 100 beats per minute.
Who even knows what 100 beats per minute sounds like?
Well, you can tell.
Remember, it's only 2 steps. Call 911.
And push hard and fast in the center of the chest to the beat of Staying Alive until help arrives.
Alright, so we showed that video for a lot of different reasons. It's pretty simple and to the point. It talks about what to do if you see somebody collapse in a cardiac arrest. But let's talk a little bit about if you walk into a room and somebody has already collapsed or somebody who's already unconscious from a cardiac arrest. Some things you want to do before you would call 911 would be to check for responsiveness. So you can tap the person on the shoulder, see if they're not just sleeping. Are you okay? Are you okay? And at that time, if they are unresponsive, you should call 911. Also at that time, you can check for breathing. If you tell that they're not breathing or irregularly breathing, that's a very common sign for a cardiac arrest. Oftentimes they'll be gasping for air, and that's not normal breathing. You should assume that they're having a cardiac arrest at that time. And also, if they are breathing or are not breathing and you can't tell, you would tell the dispatcher at that time. Oftentimes the response comes faster. And like I said, if they are unconscious, you should call 911. If you're by yourself, you can put on speakerphone. The dispatcher will help you through CPR if you forget. Also, if you're in a crowd, it's really important that you point to somebody and say, you call 911, you find an AED. And we'll talk about the AED a little bit later. But yeah, like I said, it's really important that you point to somebody. Let's run through a little scenario. Let's say you come home and you find a family member on the ground unconscious. And it's important I say a family member because 8 out of 10 times cardiac arrests happen at home. So if you have to use this training, it's going to be on somebody that you know or love, most likely. So a family member, let's say Uncle Jimmy is on the ground. What's the first step? What would you do?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Check for response.
Go see if Uncle Jimmy's
Slap
sleeping.
Yeah, no. So yeah, he's laying on the ground. You don't know what's going on, so you check for responsiveness. You tap him on the shoulders. He's not responding. You look at his breathing. He's gasping for air. You can tell it's not regularly breathing. What's the next step? Call 911. Okay. You tell the dispatcher. You say, I can't tell if he's breathing. And you have 911. You have EMS on the way. What's the next step? CPR. Right, so start chest compressions. Let's say Uncle Jimmy was on a bed or a couch. Can you do CPR on a bed or a couch?
No.
No. Okay, so if they are on a bed or a couch, it's really important that you gently remove the person to the floor. It needs to be like a hard, flat surface. Be really careful with the neck and the head, just to make sure it wasn't a spinal issue. But he's on the floor and you can start giving compressions. We'll do practice, so if you have any more questions after this, but I'll run through a little demo. So it doesn't matter which hand is first, but you just put hands on top of each other, and then your arms straight out, making sure that your arms are completely locked when you're giving compressions. And you use the heel of your hand right in the center of the chest. And we tell people to push down about 2 inches at a rate of 100 to 120 beats per minute, which is 2 beats per second. That's easier. Or staying alive, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It sounds a little bit like this. And these guys have like a little clicker, so it tells you exactly when.
I'm gonna look for Mr. Uncle Jimmy's flicker.
So-
He's not clicking.
So yeah, if you're doing it for real, obviously it won't sound exactly like this, but if you are doing it right, your cartilage in your ribs will open up and you probably will hear some cracking. A common question we have is, can you break someone's ribs? Can you hurt somebody? And yeah, you can. The person's unconscious, they won't feel it. If they're not in a cardiac arrest, they will wake up and they will say like, ow, get off. But, like in all seriousness, a person will be much happier with a broken rib and to be alive than for you not to try and for like to not be alive, you know? And also you are protected by Good Samaritan laws in Kentucky and surrounding states that says you had good intent and you had training, you know what you were doing. So you can't get sued for this. As long as you're not using your elbows or your feet when you get Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
That's some strange questions. Like, what do you do if you get tired? Like, can you use your elbow? No. Just, yeah. Stick to your hands. If you get tired, you can. We tell people if you're by yourself, you can stop. Like for 10 seconds is about the max you want to stop. If you just like really tired, you know, twist your arms. But you can also switch off with somebody. And we'll do a demo in a second. But the average, I just want to give you this quick statistic. The average response time in Louisville for EMS is about 6 to 9 minutes. So, and it depends on where you are, again, but that's a very long time to be doing it by yourself. But it is also very easy to switch off with somebody. So, I'll do a little demo with Coco here. So let's say I'm giving CPR, and I see Coco over here, but she doesn't know how to give CPR, so I can teach her real quick. It's really easy. I just say, hey Coco, can you help me out?
Yeah, I don't know how though.
It's really easy. You just lock your hands together like I have mine, and then push hard and fast in the center of the chest. I'll switch off on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And it is that it is that easy, really, to teach somebody how to do CPR. It's really just about getting your bearings straight and making sure you're comfortable. And that's what we're doing here today, is making sure you guys are more comfortable to act in an emergency. But now we'll do some practice. If you guys have any questions about method or how to do it.
This is the same for like adults and children?
Yes, we say about from 10 up, 10 to 12 up.
What about less than 12, like babies?
So we're not legally allowed to tell you, but if you take a full CPR course, they would tell you more about it. 97% of cardiac arrests happen to teens and adults, so
Okay.
Majority, in most cases, you wouldn't need to know. But yeah. Any other questions before we do practice? All right, so we have dummies up. Yeah.
Yeah. I had heard years ago that once you start CPR on a person, you can't stop until somebody else takes over, like
Right.
the ambulance.
Yeah,
Is that
exactly.
true?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
true, exactly. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, but exactly, you're right. And 10 seconds is like what I said is the limit. Like if you really are just so tired and you just need to stop for a second, that's what I'm saying. But yeah, exactly. Until EMS is ready and like right over the person and says like we're here, we're ready. You really don't want to stop giving CPR unless the person picks up pause. But yeah, we'll talk about more later. Any other questions? All right, so we'll do a little practice.
If you can find space on the floor to practice, that would be ideal because that's
Yeah, more
where you're most
realistic.
likely to do
There's some
that.
space in there.
But if you can't, or there's no space or something,